I don't know why it's taken me so long to record this, but I think I'm finally ready to talk about The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton. Let's get into it. Hello, book friends. It's Alyssa. Welcome back to the channel. Hello, if you are new. It is time for me to finally do a little video recap, talk, review, etc. about The House of Mirth. There has been plenty that I have written summarizing and talking about my thoughts on this over on Substack, which I will link down below if you would like to see all of the posts that ran along with reading our first book from my year with Edith Wharton. If you don't know about this project, this year I'm reading 7 books by Edith Wharton. I'm chronicling that kind of over on Substack, and there will be little, hopefully brief, is any video I do ever brief video, sort of summarizing my thoughts, of giving you like a little amuse-bouche of the experience of reading these books. So let's talk a little bit about this phenomenal book, The House of Mirth. It was written in 1905. I think I have that right. And it is not her first novel, but it's her first successful novel. There is one novel before this, but that's neither here nor there. This is the first like true Edith Wharton novel. We will see so many things that harken back to this first novel as you go along reading her works. Phenomenal. So I have some really brief notes for myself to try to keep myself dialed in, because I think I could go a little far with this. I guess I'll just start with a little TLDR about The House of Mirth. And I want to say before we get fully into this video that this is going to have spoilers. The assumption is that you have read the book. If you have not read the book, please click off, go read it, come back, and you can watch this and give me your thoughts. Dive into the Substack posts. There's lots and lots of spoilers. This is not a spoiler-free review. Have I warned you enough? Okay, let's get into it. The House of Mirth opens and we are watching Lily Bart. She is at Grand Central Station. She's a beautiful 29-year-old, almost 30-year-old woman. She has got time between trains and she decides to head off to see her friend Lawrence Selden, and she ends up taking tea with him in his bachelor accommodations. He's a lawyer. They have a lovely conversation and we learn some really interesting things about Lily. Lily is between sort of social engagements. She's going to visit with her friends, the Trenners, at their lovely house. I believe they're in Newport at this point in time. And she kind of travels from house to house. She lives with her aunt. Her parents are dead, but she really goes and spends her social season just traveling around with her friends and kind of living off of them. She has her eye on a man because Lily needs to marry rich. Lily has no money, okay? She's basically penniless. I mean, she's not quite penniless, but she lives off the charity of her friends and her aunt, and she needs to secure a husband. So despite the fact that you can see right at the beginning that she and Selden are perfect for each other, you know this is not going to happen because Selden, even though he's a lawyer, even though he is sort of on the fringes of this society, he is not good enough for her financially. She ends up running into another fella on the way out of his apartment, Simon Rosedale, and this is not good because Lily shouldn't be in a man's apartment having tea, because what could she possibly be doing alone there? So we already learned that Lily doesn't follow convention. Lily doesn't follow the rules, right? Lily goes off to her friends, the Trenners. She is trying really hard to win over this rather boring, rather pious man, and it doesn't end the way that Lily hopes because she ends up getting distracted by Selden. She continuously gets distracted by Selden. Selden shows up at this house party. She keeps missing her opportunities to win over the prize, and she ends up losing him to another woman. And this kind of happens over and over and over again. Lily will continuously self-sabotage herself as the plot goes forward, and we will watch her slowly spiral into oblivion. It is at the Trenner's house that we start to see this society that she's moving in. These are wealthy, old money New Yorkers. They only really care about how things look and what you can do for each other. If you can't tit for tat, if you can't play the game, then you're going to get cast out of the society. If you don't know how to have an affair without having it be unseemly, you're going to be shunned from society. Everything is about pretense and appearances. You don't have to go to church, but you have to look like you do. You don't have to be faithful in your marriage. You just have to look like you do. You can gamble, but you can't be a loser. You can't be like an addictive person in that way. Everything is about artifice, pretense, and what one can do for another. There's a lot of this business transaction that is happening in this society. Rosedale gets brought in as this new money interloper begrudgingly because he can make people money because he is playing the stock market. And playing the stock market is sort of unseemly, but if you can make money doing it, it's kind of less unseemly. You can't be like your profession. Appearances. This is the world she's trying to desperately cling to. This is the world that she knows. And this is the only world that she understands being in, because this is how she was raised. So eventually we get to find out more about Lily's parents and how Lily got to be this orphan with no money. She comes from quite a lot of money. She comes from a very wealthy family. Her aunt herself is very wealthy. But her mother was a spendthrift. Is that the right word? She wanted everything to be like top-notch, perfect. She didn't want anything to be dingy. She basically worked her husband to death so that he could afford the things that she wanted. And when they ran out of money, they ended up having to basically rely on Lily. So Lily was basically bred to be the beauty that secures the fortune of her family, that turns things around, that saves everything by being this beautiful, witty, charming, whatever woman. And she's going to fix everything just by doing that. And I don't think that anybody ever really paid attention to what Lily might actually want. And Lily isn't exactly a deep person, but she has more depth than I think anybody gives her credit for. I think they all see the surface beauty and charm, and they don't give her credit for the person that's inside. I mean, she does care quite a bit about her friends. She does do good things. When she does get some money, she does end up giving it away and helping other people. Is constantly having these conversations with Selden about freedom and how she wishes she could have freedom, but she can't have freedom because in the society, the only way to have freedom is to marry a really rich man. So she's very boxed in by society. That's the world we're living in. Lily enters into a deal with the husband of one of her friends, Mrs. Trenner. She enters into a little deal with the husband, who says he can help her out by speculating on the stock market. She has a small nest egg, and she's like, oh, that would be great. If you can get me a better return on my nest egg, that would be fabulous. Unfortunately, the money that he's giving her as dividends returns, it's not really her money. She hasn't made any of this money. He's basically lost all that. He's essentially funding her in the hopes that he can turn it into, a little more. He wants an affair with her. He wants Lily Bart. He's disgusting. Lily gets set up one night to go to the Trenner's house. She thinks she's going to see her friend, Judy, the husband's wife, but Judy has canceled, and Gus Trenner has never told her this. So she ends up going quite late at night to the Trenner's house. She is confronted by Gus, who is like, oh, no, my wife's not here. He tries to call in the debt, so to speak. And she basically is like, I'm not sleeping with you. Like, I'm not doing this. And she flees in the night. Unfortunately, fleeing in the night means that somebody happens to be walking by the house when she leaves, distressed and late at night from a man's home. And that is Selden. And so these things are set in motion where her reputation is tarnished through happenstance. She is probably one of the more moral characters in the story, and especially in her society, especially compared to somebody like Bertha Dorset, who is this woman that she's married and she has affairs. She had an affair with Selden, and she is going to have an affair with somebody else. She's very jealous of Lily and Selden's relationship, and she ends up sabotaging Lily and just absolutely destroying Lily's reputation. And she kind of gets ousted from society until she's not. Lily does get an opportunity to get the upper hand in the form of some letters that the charwoman finds at Selden's apartment. The charwoman thinks that the letters are from Lily because she saw Lily at the apartment, but they're actually from Bertha. And she buys these letters, and they are really an insurance policy. She can cash them in at any point and get back at Bertha, but Lily just isn't nasty enough to play in this world. She can't play by their terms, and because she can't, she's going to get eaten alive by the society. And she does. She ends up going, for some reason, overseas with Bertha Dorset, even though this is like her arch enemy. This lady is doing everything she can to destroy Lily's life and reputation, all because she's jealous of Lily and Selden. And Bertha does something, and to save face, she ends up pinning a whole bunch of false allegations, or insinuating a bunch of false allegations against Lily and her husband. And Lily has to sort of flee Europe quite quickly. By the time she gets back from Europe, her aunt is dead. And through all of her shenanigans, her gambling, her rumors, her everything, Lily has ended up being written out of the will. She has nothing. And Selden's cousin and Lily's sweet friend, Gertie Farish, convinces her to, first she has another friend who gets her into a bunch of different situations where she's helping these women that are on the fringes of society try to integrate into high society. And that kind of works for a while until Bertha shows up and screws things up. But eventually Gertie convinces her to take whatever money she's going to end up getting when probate and all this is done with the estate from her aunt, take it and invest it into a little hat shop. And before she gets it, she suggests she goes and works in this little hat shop. So she's working a little hat shop, attempting to like put trimmings and things on these hats, and Lily's just not skilled. You see that Lily has no skills. Lily was raised to do one thing and one thing only, and that was to be beautiful and charming and find a rich husband. And when that is barred from her, when she no longer can have that option in her life, what does she do? She crumbles. She has insomnia. She's taking chloral hydrate to be able to sleep. And despite the warnings from the pharmacist, she ends up taking a little too much one night, and our poor sweet heroine overdoses and dies. Lawrence Selden comes running in because he's finally decided he's going to propose to her, and finds her dead. Gertie Farish is there. It is dramatic. It is awful. But Lily has discharged her debt to Gus. Her money has come in. She has paid off her debts, and she's made sure that she owes no one anything. And it's a really sad and tragic ending. I think that that's the quickest way that I can talk about this. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of characters, a lot of stuff in this, and it's a really interesting book. I think there's a couple things I really want to focus on. Some of the things that stand out to me after reading this now 2 times and breaking it down is that lack of freedom that women really have at this time, and how they have to play the rules, and they have to be married, and they have to marry well, and they have to do certain things. And there really is very little room for anything else. Like, yes, Gertie Farish lives on her own in her little flat, and she does have this modicum of freedom, but it's not the life that Lily wants to live. There's no real avenue for Lily to live her own life on her own terms and be independent without a rich husband. But I don't know if that's what she really wants. The way that she self-sabotages throughout the novel really makes me feel like that's not actually what she wants. She really wants to be free. She doesn't want to be bored for the rest of her days by some man just because he's wealthy. Rosedale offers her basically on a platter, society, wealth, everything. And she says no. And I think that they really could make like a wonderful powerhouse couple with like open, honest communication amongst each other. I mean, he's very clear that like he wants a beautiful wife who can launch him into society, and he's willing to give her anything she wants to do that, to be that partner for him. And that's probably more honest than most people are being when they're getting married at this time and in this story. So I think the fact that she turns him down twice, really, definitely once. The second time, maybe she doesn't really. She sort of hems and haws on him at the end. But the fact that she turns him down at all, I think is a big tell as to what she really wants. I don't think she really wants to be married. She wants to be Gertie, but not in that dingy way that Gertie is Gertie. I think she wants to be Selden. She wants to be independent, doing something and able to support herself, but she can't. There's no avenue for that anywhere in this society. And that's really unfortunate. And I think that that's a large piece of what crushes her. And then I also think the other major component to what makes her end up meeting this tragic end is the way she was raised. We can't help the way we were raised. So despite the fact that I think she has a inherently good moral compass and she's inherently a good person, she is also quite shallow, but she wasn't raised to have depth. She wasn't raised to do anything other than charm and smile and look pretty and catch the biggest fish. And so what do you do? She expects certain things. She was raised to expect certain luxuries, comforts, and she doesn't really know how to live without them. And she's been programmed to think that it's bad to live without them. So to surmount all of that and somehow become this independent modern woman like Gertie Farish, that's an impossible ask for Lily, I think. And then I think the final sort of piece of this puzzle of her downfall is the fact that she has nobody to lean on. Her parents are dead. Her aunt doesn't really care. Her aunt only really takes her in because of how it looks. It would look horrible if she didn't, so therefore she does. She just kind of likes having Lily beholden to her. She doesn't give her any guidance. She doesn't help her find a husband. She doesn't orchestrate anything in Lily's favor. She just exists and likes it when Lily asks her for money or help or anything like that. So I just feel like if she had one person in her life, one family member, her aunt or another family member, or she had a good parent, someone to guide her, protect her, and keep her from getting caught up with this sort of fast and loose crowd, because there are kind of two crowds of society. There's the boring man she was going to marry. He's a very pious, quiet kind of guy in the upper crust, and there is that kind of pious, quiet group, and that's not fun for Lily. That's boring, and wouldn't have been fun for Lily's mother. Lily's mother was not one of those people. So what she expects is like the Trenner set, the Dorsets, the people that are traveling everywhere and gambling and having affairs and getting divorced and like doing all these things. Those are the people she's used to. That's the society she knows. And she only knows to be a part of that. Everything else is boring to her or beneath her, or she just doesn't know how to navigate. And she does finally see the beauty. There's a scene near the end where she runs into this young woman who she helped with like a treatment or something for her lungs. And the lady brings her into her home, and Lily gets a glimpse into what a regular person's life looks like and the love and warmth that can be there, and the love and warmth that I don't think existed in Lily's life ever. She was always commodified in some way. I think she does see it, but what Lily expects, what she knows, what she thinks she should desire is a life like the Trenners, is a life of jet setting, well, not jet setting, but because they don't have jets, but going all over and traveling the world and having fun and going to parties and being just on the fringes of scandalous, right? As long as the pretense of propriety is there, that's all that matters. And then below the surface, there's scandal and fun and gossip and all of that. That's what Lily knows. So those things together, that lack of a compass, an external moral compass, the lack of any other option other than to get married, and that upbringing combined to really set her up for failure, I think, especially in somebody who doesn't necessarily want to tie herself down into marriage. I don't think she wants to be tied down into marriage. The protagonist in our next book, Undine Spragg, I think Undine Spragg would do quite well with Lily's situation. She would find a way to rise to the top, and keep rising to the top until she's her own beast of unsatisfiedness. But Lily won't find satisfaction in marriage for very different reasons. I think Lily wants more out of life. She longs to be a deeper person and have the ability to become deeper, I think. I think Selden gives her that opportunity to think and express and to be more than just the beauty. But unfortunately, Selden doesn't have the backbone to pursue her in a persistent enough way. He does back off often, and I kind of wish he didn't. But also, I think Selden knows that she's a bit out of his league as well. Yeah, I think those are like the big things I kind of wanted to touch on in just a little video to give you a taste of the story, or just a little breakdown of it, give you a taste of the thoughts that I had while reading it. If you want to go through it more in depth over on Substack, there's more over there. But I think it's a book that's really worth reading. I think that it's been called a perfect novel. I think this is more aptly called a perfect novel than Stoner, which is probably the only other book that I've heard called a perfect novel. And I would love to know your thoughts on this if you've read it. If you've read The House of Mirth, what do you think of it? What do you think of Lily? Do you think she's just a shallow woman, or do you think that there's a depth there that just hasn't been cultivated? I'm very sympathetic to her, and I have been since my first read. I think some people become more sympathetic to her as they read the novel several times, but I'm very sympathetic to her. I think she was set up for failure from the beginning, and I don't think that the world she's living in cares if women have any more to them than just beauty and charm. So they don't care to cultivate it, and it's not desired in these women. And so it's really an unfortunate thing. And I think that sort of moral of like, if you don't cultivate that depth within a woman, really plays into sort of like they're going to end up having some sort of downfall, I think really plays into Edith Wharton's life and her experiences. I mean, her first fiance calls off the engagement because she's like too bookish and doesn't want to be married to someone who's smarter than him. And I think her parents like rushed her coming out because they thought that she was just too bookish, and if they waited too long, she would just never find a husband, and they just needed to get it over with, kind of thing. So I think that Edith really understands this world. Wharton understands the world she's writing, and she understands these characters. She knows these people. She could probably point to these people in her life and be like, well, this is a mix of these people. She wouldn't want to. She thinks that that's silly, but she knows intimately this world and these people and their strengths and weaknesses. And she also knows how stifling this society can be for a woman, especially a woman of any sort of intellect or any desire to go against the grain. So I do think that Lily is a sympathetic character as a result of all that. I don't think she's just supposed to be read as this shallow woman who only wanted to get married and fails and ends up meeting some tragic demise. I think that she is a victim of society, her upbringing, and ultimately, I guess, patriarchy, and not to bring that into the mix. But yeah, those are my thoughts for now. I would love to know yours in the comments. Like I said, I will also be doing one of these for the custom of the country. I think today I need to eat something though. I'm a little hungry. But yeah, I love this book. I'm curious to see what I'm going to pick up on my next read, because every time I pick up on something new, there's so much we could go into. We could talk about Selden more in depth. We could talk about Rosedale more in depth. So much with Rosedale, the Trenners, just in general, this idea of business transactions. There's so much like business transactions going on. And it's not even so much about like repaying. Like she didn't necessarily have to repay Gus in money. But Lily wants to, because that's the only way for her to really truly discharge this debt, is to give him back the money that he gave her, because otherwise she's always going to kind of be beholden to him in some way. Anyway, there's a lot to go into, but I'm not going to do that now. I'm not going to do that here. This is supposed to be a short video, and it's almost half an hour. Told you, I'm never making a short video. Never do it. Anyway, I'll wrap this up. Stop rambling. Eat something. I think I'm getting hypoglycemic. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video, whatever it may be, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want. Bye.